Hello and welcome to CivilNet. I'm here with Haig Apovian. He's the director of AGBU in Brazil. Thank you so much, Haig, for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start off by asking you to describe what the Armenian community in Brazil looks like. Roughly how many Armenians are there, and where do they live?
Well, the community in Brazil, I think, like most South American communities, Armenian communities are, it's a very old community, mostly have migrated there in the 20s, 30s of the last century after genocide, so survivors of the genocide. And mostly nowadays are third, fourth generation Armenians. Mostly concentrated in São Paulo, more than 90% concentrated in São Paulo. I would say we have roughly 25,000, 30,000 descendants of Armenians that feel themselves as Armenians. Most of them, unfortunately, don't speak the language, don't speak Armenian, but there is a strong a strong sense of pride of being Armenian. And in the last years, we're feeling a strong growth in interest to come to Armenia, to connect to their heritage. And this is our main goal, of giving the opportunity for these people to connect with their heritage and their Armenian roots.
Right. And how have you engaged with Armenian issues throughout your life? You're obviously the director of AGBU right now. Could you give us some background on how you got involved?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I've been involved with AGBU since I was born, obviously through my family. So my grandfather migrated to Brazil in 1963, and in '64 he was one of the main founding members of AGBU in Brazil. He was part of AGBU board in Haleb, and when they moved to Brazil with the family, they felt the need to have a global Armenian organization because there were a couple of local organizations in the community, but there was not AGBU, and he felt the need to provide the community the access to this organization. So they started through cultural and philanthropic activities, as most AGBU chapters do. In the mid-'80s, they started a school, which is the school I went until I was 10. So I studied and built a network of friends, and most of my early childhood friends were from AGBU school. The school unfortunately closed its doors in 2006. But since then...
Due to lack of enrollment in the school?
Yeah, mostly due to a lack of students and financial challenges. I think this is unfortunately something that happens a lot in diaspora, and it's something that we will have to think about schools in the diaspora. But for instance, we have some very successful cases. We have some places, especially where the Armenian community is stronger or bigger and more active, that schools still exist. But unfortunately, in our case, it had to close. It had to shut down in 2006. But we still have an Armenian school behind the church. So there were two schools. Currently, we have one working Armenian school there. After that, actually, I began to get involved again with AGBU in mid-2010. First of all, through YP, which is the Young Professionals Network. And after that, starting in 2012-13, I got in the board. We went through some renovation period, and in the end of the last year, we fully renovated our board with a new generation of younger Armenians who are very excited about being part of this organization and working to connect and strengthen the Armenian identity and culture and heritage in Brazil. So currently we are in 8. All of them previous students, alumni of the local AGBU school we had. All of them have been to Armenia at least once. And we are very happy that we're gaining momentum and getting attraction of lots of younger generation members of our community are starting to get interested. And although we're starting from, we almost started from scratch because as most of the organizations, it was run by an older generation that did a lot of great things, but wasn't able to attract the interest of the younger generation. And now it seems we're working on going toward this direction and bringing lots of people. So now we're refounding our YP network in Brazil. We just had a presentation with more than 30 young people that had never participated before, and we're very excited in the last month. So our intent is to connect these people, and I believe the best way to do this is to bring the more people we can to Armenia or to participate in other diaspora programs, internship programs. We want to start taking more cultural events to Brazil, artists from Armenia and the diaspora, but basically from Armenia, and in cooperation with other organizations as well, give the opportunity for people to come here.
Right. And you mentioned that the board is all young people now. Could you talk about the importance of having a younger generation at the helm of AGBU?
Definitely. I think I had the impression, and now we're feeling that just for having a younger generation and people that have another mentality or a forward-thinking way of doing things, a lot of people that had a bit of prevention even of participating in our community events now are much more open to coming to our events or to connect with us. Just the simple fact that we're working now on social media channels and developing our social media channels for a different kind of way of communicating. We're releasing a series of videos, of one minute videos explaining what AGBU is, the first one is about what AGBU is and why is it important, and what are its challenges and its objectives. And we'll start to release every month a video about Armenian issues, so Armenian culture, about Armenia itself, about what is Artsakh and why it's important for us to work toward it. So I think, and this has been only possible through a younger generation and a new mood, a new way of thinking and doing things.
Great. And on that note, what would you say are AGBU Brazil's main priorities right now, its focus?
Our main priority is especially to grow our base and especially focused on this younger generation. So people up to 35, 40 years old, especially. Not that the other generations are not we don't have programs for them. We do have some voluntary programs for women that prepare a traditional kitchen, traditional Armenian kitchen, cuisine. We do have some events for an older generation of, especially mainly social events. But our main priority is to gather the attention and bring this younger generation to connect anyway and give them opportunity to connect to their heritage, being either through internship programs that the Global AGBU Network offers, being through coming to Armenia and doing something, staying for a while, getting to know. We want to engage with this newer businesses that are happening in Armenia, so to engage with TUMO, to engage with all these amazing global programs that are going on here.
Right. And in your view, you mentioned the importance of coming to Armenia and exposing Armenians in Brazil and the broader diaspora to the country. What are the most effective ways of involvement in Armenia for Armenians in Brazil, in your view?
Yeah, I believe the most although there are some different ways of engaging, but the most effective ways definitely is if someone can come to Armenia and experience Armenia for a while, ideally for a couple of months, and this can be done through a broad way of different programs. For instance, there are some cases of people that were not very engaged with the Armenian community or with their culture, and that came to Armenia through Birthright Armenia, for example, and spent a couple of months here and went back totally transformed. And these people are now working towards strengthening the Armenian identity in our local community. But ideally, not everyone can stay for a long period, so there are different programs that can be offered, and I think our main goal has to be to give opportunity for these people to see how they can connect. So AGBU has lots of great programs through internship. I think connecting with other diasporas is something great, or just coming to Armenia as a tourist, or ideally spending a little more time, a couple of days, a couple of weeks, going out of Yerevan, just by coming here and experiencing life with local people. It's something that is amazing. So our main goal should be for everyone to be able to come at least once to Armenia. Yeah. And people have to see this not as a duty, but it's much more as an opportunity. So, because nowadays our generation, everyone wants to be a global citizen, everyone wants to have access to different kind of people, everyone sees the value of this, of having different experiences. And just by being born Armenian, you have access to this amazing network of great people from different geographical locations, such as Australia, the US, Canada, France, Argentina, Brazil, Lebanon. So I think this has to be, we have to learn how to market this and especially show to the younger generation that being Armenian is much more than just eating Armenian food or listening to Armenian music.
Yeah. And your first time in Armenia was actually in 1999, and you've returned several times since. So how has your engagement with the country evolved during those years?
Well, I love very much coming here. If I could stay longer. I've been a couple of times to Artsakh and around Armenia, and I've seen a lot of difference. First time, as you said, I came in 1999 with my family. It was the first time my parents as well came to Armenia, so it was something as a magical moment of discovering and experiencing Armenia. And since then, I've tried to come at least every couple of years, and fortunately in the last years I've been able to come more often. But what I want to do is to strengthen the ties and, if possible, make something related to work here in Armenia, especially that now that we have a growing tech scene, amazing companies starting from Armenia. So either by helping to develop commercial relations between Brazil and Armenia, or finding ways for the diaspora to engage, especially commercially, with Armenia. I think part of the help, and I wouldn't even say help, but I think our willingness to strengthen this country has to pass through also the economic part. So how can we engage economically with this country, either through investments, either through hiring services from here, opening jobs. And it's not just for helping the other, but for helping ourselves and participating in this amazing country. And I think what we say, I'm very suspect of this. I've always been very interested in developing places. So I'm a civil engineer by formation, but I like very much to transform places, to transform, and I think we have a great opportunity here.
Yeah. I think that's a really nice note to end on. Thank you so much, Haig, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching CivilNet.